Live in Los Angeles, it's The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, thanks for making us part of your day. I had ice cream and cigars last night. Stay with me, 2 hours left. It's a roller coaster, could go off the tracks. I'm lactose, semi-lactose intolerant, but I'm sorry. You open up the fridge, there's a pint there, there's a spoon, things happen. Went sideways really fast. Then I topped off with a cigar, which, you know.
You're now smoking cigars in your
I don't smoke them regularly.
In your own house, though?
I have a deck. It's not like I'm in the kitchen knocking out.
That was the vibe, like a Mad Men type
David off. No, come on. But you know, here's the thing. I'm a disciplined guy. You gotta let go once in a while.
That's letting go ice cream and a cigar.
Greg Maddux had an occasional wild pitch. You can't just throw strikes. You gotta live a little. So I saw this story, Joel Klatt in 5 minutes. The Browns now are trying to escape the Deshaun Watson contract. The new lawsuit filed against Deshaun Watson possibly, the story says, keyword possibly, sparks a chain of events that could culminate in the league suspending Deshaun Watson, voiding about half of the future guaranteed contract. So, listen, Cleveland knew of his creepiness when they signed him, so no sympathy from me here. I mean, if he threw for 4 touchdowns and they beat Dallas by 3 touchdowns, everybody would be defending him. But in sports, there's a rule. You can't have off-field problems and on-field problems. Fans will support you. Owner will support you. I mean, let's be honest. This was the 26th suit against him. It's not like Cleveland was comfortable with the first 25, but the 26, that sent him over the top. He's not any good anymore. And that's the story here. And listen, if Gordon Ramsay wasn't a great chef, he'd just be kind of a jerk. If Russell Wilson was winning, nobody talked about his cringiness 7 years ago in Seattle. And now it's the only topic. You got to win. And so when you're willing to go into business with somebody with 25 civil suits, it's on you. I mean, that's the baggage you paid for. Cleveland panicked. They are, what I've said for years, is a low self-esteem sports franchise where they're always in the Steelers' shadow and the Ravens' shadow, and they just panic. And so I think it's a very poorly owned sports franchise with great employees. I think Kevin Stefanski is a tremendous coach. If he was on the market, he'd be hired in 5 minutes. I think Andrew Berry's a sharp GM. I mean, their drafts are good. Jack Conklin, the tackle, tremendous. Amari Cooper, a total pro. Myles Garrett, best pass rusher arguably in the league. There are a lot of good employees in that building. And like GM, coach, like a lot of them, one of them's not the quarterback. He can't play, and everybody knows it. So all of Cleveland's issues are Cleveland's issues. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I mean, San Francisco whiffed on Trey Lance. It happens. You know, Kansas City and Brett Veach, one of the smartest GMs in the league, has missed on receivers. It happens. Like a lot of the best team, I mean, the Rams draft very well. They have missed on second-round receivers and interior linemen, second-round guys. It happens. But there is a difference between making a mistake, which we all do, and creating a problem. Cleveland's an expert at the latter. So they're trying to get out of that Deshaun Watson deal. And now it's not like they get completely out of it. But I looked at the numbers this morning, and they cut it in about half. And as we know, if you draft a quarterback and you hit on him in the first or second round, he's kind of a freebie for 4 years. So that's one of the things about the NFL. And Cleveland's they're in as dire a place as you could be, salary cap-wise. But, you know, Denver was a mess. They got Bo Nix. I don't know. I think it's going to work. And with that, the voice of college football at our network all over the Texas-Michigan game last week, Joel Klatt joins us as he always does on Wednesdays. Joel Klatt podcast.
What's up, dude?
Madison, Wisconsin. We were saying this. Let's go back.
Okay.
And look at Texas. Now, I know it's the eye test, but I use the eye test in college sports a lot.
Okay.
In the NBA, everybody's tall, long, and talented. In the NFL, the margins are tiny. I look at Texas, and I see Michigan last year where I'm not sure who's a 1 and who's a 2. They're rotating defensive linemen in.
Yeah.
They look like, to me, eye test, the most talented team in the sport.
Yeah, I think that Georgia and Ohio State could lay claim to that as well. So in my last top 10, I put them 1A, 1B, 1C.
Yeah.
Those three teams, Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas. And Texas certainly looked that way. I was so impressed with a lot of things that went on Saturday. To name a few. Their offensive line is as experienced and physical as any in the sport.
3 first-rounders, maybe?
Possibly, definitely 2, I would say. And the thing about it is that they're experienced, Colin. It's not just young talent up there. They played as young players. So this, in a lot of cases, is their 3rd year starting. They have got, I would say, they fixed their rotation on the defensive line because they lost Javondre Sweat and Byron Murphy.
Yeah, great.
2 excellent defensive tackles. So that was going to be a point of weakness for them. Well, guess what? They went out and got 3 other defensive tackles in the portal, which makes their rotation in the interior fine because none of them have to play over 25 or 30 snaps. They got Andrew Makuba, the safety from Clemson, to come in and shore up the secondary. Now, all of a sudden, the secondary is a strength. They go out in the portal and they get a couple of wide receivers, Golden and Bond, to supplement with their young players. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there and you're like, this probably is a national championship caliber team.
Right.
And then their quarterback is excellent. He's experienced. Quinn Ewers knows what he's looking at. Their play caller is outstanding. Their 3rd down plan, I know this is like technical stuff, but you'll love this stuff. Their 3rd down plan for Wink Martindale was so good. Steve Sarkisian is so smart. If it was 3rd and 7 plus, he max protected with 7 guys, and he let his guys roam and get loose. If he had one-on-one, Ewers would hit him. And Ewers understood what the plan was as well. So he knew that all he had to do, if they played coverage against that max protection, is get loose with his feet and either create with his feet or create a hole down the field with his feet and exploit that with his arm. He did that on several different occasions. Then you would get into the middle 3rd downs, 3rd and 4, 5, and 6. And what did he do? Screen. It was screen right, screen left, a little tunnel screen here. Ball was on the outside quickly to get away from those defensive linemen. And then he also saw what Michigan was trying to do with alignment because they were trying to do some funky things with alignment. He saw Mason Graham, one of the best defensive tackles in college football, lined up as a defensive end. So guess what he did? He ran away.
Was not terrible. Bosa didn't get a sack, and Aaron doesn't open well. He's a distracted, rich, single guy in his off seasons. He hasn't been good in openers in like 6 or 7 years. Having digested some of the New York media, I'm sure you did over the last day, what is the sense in New York? Giants are toast, but what's the sense with the Jets this morning?
Well, they're concerned because it didn't look good and they were supposed to be great defensively. It's one thing about Aaron Rodgers that, okay, he hasn't played in 20 months and he's 40 and he's coming off of an Achilles and, like, it's reasonable to have some rust on the offensive side of the ball. And yes, Kyle Shanahan makes a lot of people look real bad. But Robert Saleh was the defensive coordinator with Kyle Shanahan. So if anyone should know how to stop that system or at least slow it down, it should be Saleh. And the Jets defense was just getting gashed over the middle in the passing game. They were getting gashed on the outside with the running game. So there's definite concern. And I certainly wouldn't say that I can speak for all Jets fans just because I've been in New York for a little bit. But I would say this too. This is one of the few teams in the NFL that it really is Super Bowl or bust. Like Aaron Rodgers, if he's healthy, he will be better than Zach Wilson last year. But for how long? You have this year with Aaron Rodgers, maybe next year. He's mercurial at best, so he's clearly going to be a year-to-year proposition. So to me, it's like, okay, great. Maybe they will be better than last year, and they'll figure it out a little bit, and they'll be a 9 or a 10-win team. But the goal of this entire exercise has not been to make the playoffs. It has been to win the Super Bowl. And I'll ask you, that team that we saw Monday night, they look like a team that was more ready to make a Super Bowl or miss the playoffs entirely.
Yeah, I said offensively, when I watched Kansas City and Baltimore on Thursday and the Packers and the Eagles the following day and the Lions and the Rams, the Jets don't stack up offensively. I mean, they're a twisted ankle from Breece Hall to being a really limited offense, like a really limited. I mean, you look at San Francisco. They don't play McCaffrey, and they have 7 offensive players, including left tackle Trent Williams. I'm like, oh, those are Jawan Jennings is their number 3 receiver, and he was unguardable. So I think when I look at the Jets is the margins are very thin. Is that if they're healthy, it could be good, but this is a long season.
Well, it's a sport of injuries, and if they're healthy, they can be good. Yeah, you can say that about a lot of teams, and they are relying on guys who you cannot trust to be healthy. Aaron Rodgers had been pretty healthy throughout his career, but he's a 40-year-old coming off an Achilles. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that's concerning. Tyron Smith, he's missed a lot of games. Mike Williams, it was Garrett Wilson and who else in the passing game? He was just locked in on Garrett Wilson. Good guy to be locked in on, but you'd like to have more help there. Mike Williams, not a guy you can count on to play a lot of games. So is this a Super Bowl caliber roster if they get MVP caliber quarterback play? Of course it is. But it's been a while since Aaron Rodgers has been an MVP caliber player, and we have no guarantees whatsoever that he's going to survive the season.